Now, for the second question. Are there any patents filed or granted on coronaviruses? And what can we gather from them in view of COVID-19? I'm going to talk about two patents and some other prosecution history to help us answer this question. The first one is a granted patent titled coronavirus, which is quite fitting to the current situation, no? It is assigned to Pirbright Institute, and if you want to have a little bit of fun, you can find a bunch of conspiracy theories online stating that Bill Gates has patent rights to COVID-19 through this patent. But I'll let you come to your own conclusions about that. Let's turn to the abstract. The abstract directs the invention to an attenuated coronavirus, and the background section seems to focus on the development of a new and safer vaccine for avian viruses, particularly avian infectious bronchitis. Now let's turn to the claims. The broadest claim is Claim 1, which is limited to, among other elements, an attenuated coronavirus and a mutation in non-structural proteins. I went through the prosecution history to find out what the examiner said about the allowable claims. As you can see here, the examiner stated that the claimed live attenuated coronavirus is not naturally occurring live attenuated coronavirus. It is made by a reverse genetic approach, which contains some identified mutations cited in Claim 1. Notice how the examiner states that it is not naturally occurring, which ties into what I mentioned earlier about the patent eligibility of man-made viruses versus naturally occurring viruses. Based on this, I do not believe that these claims would cover COVID-19, as the composition is clearly altered from a natural state. But again, feel free to share your opinions and knowledge about whether this claim would cover COVID-19. Now let's turn to the second application. This is a patent application titled Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus, which has Chiron Corporation as an assignee. Let's turn to the abstract. The abstract directs the invention to the preparation and manufacture of vaccine formulations, diagnostic reagents, kits, and methods for treating SARS. But the scope of rights sought are limited by the claims, which are a set of numbered paragraphs at the end of the patent application. Let's turn to the claims. As you can see here, the first claim was initially filed with this 893-page patent application, and it is comically broad. It recites, an isolated polypeptide of the SARS virus. Nice try. After a patent application is filed, it goes through a prosecution stage where the applicant and the examiner battle for claims. The examiner typically wants the claims to be narrowed as much as possible, while the applicant wants the claim to be as broad as possible. I went into the prosecution history to see how things unfolded for this patent application. As you can see here, the examiner allowed a much narrower claim, requiring that all these elements are listed. I'm not going to go into the technical details of these elements, but feel free to comment below on the effectiveness of such a composition for COVID-19. Let me know why or why not these limitations would or would not apply to COVID-19. My impression is these elements would not capture COVID-19 in its natural state because the claimed composition requires at least an added adjuvant and an isolated SARS spike protein. Now, to conclude the story of this patent application, we can see that GlaxoSmithKline became the new assignee, and they let the application go abandoned after the examiner allowed this subject matter, with no sign of a continuation application. If anybody can figure out why, let me know in the comments section. By the way, this is not legal advice, and I'm providing this video for educational purposes only, using publicly available information and my experience as a patent engineer.